What up everybody, Josh Shamir here. Thank you all so much once again for tuning in. Now I finally saw the movie Venom the other day, and for the most part I was disappointed. I was disappointed that the final fight between Riot and Venom was a bit too messy, and the fact that some of the dialogue was clunky. The biggest disappointment to me is the fact that a movie like Venom is sheer proof that movie critics have indeed become a problem. Because let's face it, does anyone listening to this truly believe that Venom will be as negatively panned like it is being by critics if the film was an MCU/Disney product? You may be thinking that because I singled out Venom with those critiques that means that I dislike the movie, but I was actually pretty pleased with what I saw. And that's right, I think Venom is an okay film. As expected, Tom Hardy does a fantastic job as Eddie Brock, and the scenes between he and the symbiote were some of the film's best and funniest. Yet the movie critics seemingly had trouble giving the movie itself points for giving them another round of humor, given the fact that that is all they seem to look for and mostly have enjoyed in superhero films these past few years. I also enjoyed Riz Ahmed as Carlton Drake, aka Riot, and again, my only complaint would be that the final fight sequence between Riot and Venom was a little too messy. But overall, I thought he did well with what he was given. I did like seeing Michelle Williams as She-Venom in the final act of the film, but there were times where I was not always on board with her performance. But all in all, this is Tom Hardy's movie, and he himself makes the movie worth the while. What the movie did best is that it shows that a Venom movie can in fact exist without Spider-Man and actually be pretty entertaining while doing it. The flaws it has don't necessarily bring it down, and a lot of the action is pretty cool. I appreciated that the movie took the time to explore the relationship between the symbiote and Eddie, and that multiple symbiotes appeared in the movie as well. I do think the film was a little short, and that similarly to Suicide Squad, it certainly could have benefited from an R rating. Venom, first and foremost, isn't a hero, he's an anti-hero. Carnage is one of the most violent villains one could encounter, and with him likely being the main antagonist in the sequel, one would hope that it would garner a harder rating than its predecessor. Tom Hardy himself came out and said 40 minutes of the film were left out, and me personally, I would enjoy seeing an extended cut of the film. There were certain scenes that you could tell that the story/director wanted to take it there, but I guess they felt that the PG-13 rated M gamer kiddos in the audience didn't need to see it. Needless to say, the financial success of the film matters more to the studio, and it seems like that rating may carry over into the sequel. I think one thing we can take away from the movie Venom is that you should always first and foremost trust your instincts. Your body has them for a reason, and they are what they are for a purpose. Another thing that goes without saying is that no one should let critics decide what they should and shouldn't see, because nearly everybody that isn't a fanboy or a movie critic seemingly enjoyed Venom, or at the very least gave the film credit for what it does good, as opposed to just calling it garbage and leaving it there. You either see the movie or you don't. Just because someone dislikes a film doesn't mean that you will necessarily. I'm not necessarily surprised that the film garnered the negative critical reception that it has, because after all, there were some who thought this movie didn't make sense, and otherwise wouldn't do good without Spider-Man, and some who thought the movie was gonna suck either way. I guess the irony in all this is that the critics destroying Venom drove interest in the film even more, and gave Sony record-breaking weekend, and has made more people realize that maybe, just maybe, movie critics don't have the answers after all. I guess if anything, I am more curious just to see what the sequel has in store. Aside from Carnage, there are still other symbiotes out there, and needless to say, things don't stay dead for long in Venom's world. Interestingly enough, going off of the after credits scene, it seems that Carnage is in fact on the way, and like I said, it looks like they'll face off in the sequel to Venom. I guess in the end, Sony does in fact get the last laugh by reaping the benefits of Spider-Man's success in the MCU and their newfound Marvel Universe, which started with Venom, seemingly about to be a financial success as well. Maybe Morbius, Kraven, and Black Cat and Silver Sable will be alright after all. Venom not only succeeded without Spider-Man's involvement, but it certainly proved that critics and audiences don't always go hand in hand. Venom certainly isn't a masterpiece, nor is it a great film, but at the end of the day, there are much worse films out there, and ultimately Venom is far from being one of them.